You remember, right? There were the two maidservants, but the two main wives were Rachel and Leah. And the one that he really loved the most was Rachel. In last week's parashat Vayeshev, Rachel passes away. And he has two little sons, Yosef and Binyamin, who are Yaakov's two little youngest boys from Rachel. Now he loves all his sons, but Yaakov felt extra close to his sons from Rachel, especially the oldest one, especially Yosef. Children, Yaakov made for Yosef a coat of many colors. It also had long sleeves to it. Now, what did the long sleeves and the beautiful coat represented? It showed that Yosef can come and sit and learn Torah with his father all day, while his brothers had to go out and take care of the flock, the sheep and the cattle and stuff like that, mostly the sheep. And children, the brothers started to get very jealous and very uncomfortable with this. They said, 1 minute, we don't understand. Why is Yosef treated extra special? Is this the same like Yaakov and Esav, our father? Remember, Yaakov had a brother, Esav. Esav was supposed to serve in the Bet HaMikdash. He didn't want to. So in the end, Yaakov got the whole portion of serving in the Bet HaMikdash and the one to father the Jewish nation. And the 12 brothers, or the 11 brothers, or rather the 10 other ones from the other wives, started to get very worried. They said, is this what this is signifying? That Yosef, who's got a coat with beautiful colors, but it wasn't just the beautiful colors, the long sleeves represented the concept that because he has long sleeves, he doesn't have to do any work. Long sleeves represented that he doesn't get his hands in the mud or working with animals, right? When you need to work, you roll up your sleeves, right? Yosef was given a coat with long sleeves to represent that he doesn't need to work. He could sit and learn Torah all day. And the brothers started to become very uncomfortable with this whole concept. Now, to make matters worse, Yosef started to get dreams. The first dream he had was that he tells them, he says, hey guys, I dreamt that we were out in the field and we were collecting sheaves of wheat, bundles of wheat, and my wheat was in the center, and all 11, you guys were all bowing down to my bundle of wheat. So guys, that means I'm going to be the king. I'm going to be a ruler. You're all going to bow down to me. And children, the brothers didn't like it. They said, 1 minute, you're talking all wrong. The leaders of the Jewish people are going to come from Shevet Yehuda. Right? He's the one with the lion on it, representing royalty. King David will come from him, the future king. Mashiach will be his descendant. And they said, you are mored b'malchut. You are rebelling against the kingship of the Jewish people. And still Yosef continued, and he said, the next night again he had a dream. He said, hey guys, I dreamt that the sun and the moon and the 11 stars came to me and they all bowed down to me. So guys, that means that I'm going to be the king. You're all going to bow down to me. And again the brothers became very upset. And they said, you're mored b'malchut. You're rebelling against what's supposed to be in the future. The kings of the Jewish people are going to come from Shevet Yehuda, not from you. Now, the truth is, children, that Yosef was right. He was going to be the king. But as we well know, he ends up becoming king in Egypt. He becomes viceroy, second to the king. And in parashat Miketz next week, we're going to learn how they do all come and bow down to him. But in the beginning, they didn't understand this. And even when he came and he told his father pretended not to believe. He said, what are you talking about? How can your father and mother come? Your mother passed away. Really what he was seeing was that the maidservant mother, Bilhah, will come and bow down to him. But Yaakov made as if he didn't believe the dreams. He didn't want his other sons to become uncomfortable and angry with Yosef. So in one day, the brothers had gone out to watch over the flock and they'd gone far away. And Yaakov calls his son Yosef. He said, food for them. They're far. I don't know where they are. Can you take like a bundle of food for them? I'm worried. They're all very hungry. And children, Yosef was very scared. In his heart, he knew how angry his brothers were with him. But the Torah makes a point to tell us that he did it with rizut. He did it quickly. He did it with alacrity. He said, yes, of course, Dad, I'll do the mitzvah of kibud av va'em. Children, when our parents ask us to do something, it's not enough just to do it. You have to do it with speed. You have to do it with excitement, with alacrity, with like getting ready, getting up and doing the right thing. And even though Yosef was scared, he did it anyway. And he said, sure, and he went off, children. He went to look for his brothers and he couldn't find them. Instead, children, the Malach, I think it was Malach Michael, but correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Gabriel, but I think it was Michael, who sees him, and he says, your brothers are not here. Vayelchu Dotana, they went to Dotan, which actually hints to the concept that they're plotting against you. The word Dotan becomes symbolic from the word to plot. They're plotting against you. Careful, careful. But Yosef had a mitzvah to do, the mitzvah of Kibud Av Va'em. And so he comes towards his brothers, and from the distance they see him. Now, two of the strongest brothers, last week I didn't have time to teach you that part, but Shimon and Levi, not Reuven the oldest, Shimon and Levi, were incredibly strong. They had destroyed the entire city of Shechem in order to save their one sister Dinah. They killed the entire city because Shechem had kidnapped their sister. They took their sister Dinah as hostage. So the two of them very strongly came and they protected her and they saved her. Now, children, Shimon and Levi were very strong. And when they saw Yosef coming, the two of them started to talk to each other. And they said, he's Mared B'Malchut. He is like rebelling against the kings of the Jewish people. Let's get rid of him. They actually wanted to make him pass away. And they sat there plotting. They were like two brothers very close to each other. And the oldest brother, Reuven, and if we're going to use him for Reuven, okay, we'll use him as a Reuven, sorry. It's not quite the right one, but it's fine. Yehuda, no. Reuven said, guys, don't kill him. Why are you trying to kill him? Chas v'chalila. We shouldn't have blood on our hands. Let's take him and throw him into a pit. Now the Torah testifies that what Reuven was thinking, you know what, when my brothers leave, I'll come back and I will save my brother Yosef. I'm going to save him. And instead, children, we see that when he comes back, it was too late. Reuven was too busy doing teshuvah for himself about a sin he had done before. He had switched his father's bed around, and he was so busy doing teshuvah for himself that he didn't take the time to worry about others. Sometimes we stop and we think, I have to take care of all my Torah learning, and we don't worry about another person's Torah learning. The Torah teaches us that Reuven should have been not left his little brother. He should have been there to take care of his little brother, even though he had to do teshuvah for himself. But he didn't. He was too concerned with his own teshuvah to worry about his younger brother. We two children, the Lubavitcher Rebbe teaches the Sikha, more important than worrying about you becoming a big Talmid Chacham, go out and make sure that every single Jewish boy and girl are learning Torah and are connected with Hashem. And so children, when they come, they take Yosef and they rip off his beautiful coat of many colors. They take it away from him. And now Yosef doesn't have his lovely coat. And they throw him into a pit, children. Whoops, he got a little stuck in my puppet, sorry. They take him and they throw him inside the pit, children. Now the pit was, the Torah tells us, was no water was in it, and instead it was filled with snakes and with scorpions. And children, Yosef was very scared there. But the Torah also makes a point to tell us, Habor rek en bo mayim, aval nachashim v'akavim yesh bo. The pit was empty, there was no water, but there were snakes and scorpions. And again, Rashi, the Sikha teaches us, it's referring sometimes to our mind. If we fill our don't fill our mind with Torah, then God forbid, our mind can get filled with all not good things like it's compared to water. Fill your mind with water, and then there won't be room for snakes and scorpions, or for bad thoughts, or scary thoughts, or things which are not good for us. So again, the Torah was teaching us this concept. And Yosef was in there with the snakes and the scorpions and all these dangerous things. And Yosef davens to Hashem. And Hashem, of course, listens to his prayer. And Yosef is safe. They don't touch him. The snakes and the scorpions don't touch him. And as he sits there, suddenly passing by was a caravan of like Midianim. They were like Arabs who were going around. They were selling things. Now, usually they used to sell disgusting smelling tar, like this black tar that you pave the roads with. But that time, Hashem made that they brought wonderful smelling spices and wonderful smelling perfumes so that the tzaddik Yosef shouldn't be surrounded with horrible smells. And the brother Yehuda, who was like the leader, like I told you, he was the one that all the kings of the Jewish people came from him. He got up and he said, listen guys, let's not leave him in the pit to die. Let's sell him. And Hashem will do with him whatever he wants. And so he comes to the Midianim and he says, do you want to buy a slave boy? We have a really good slave boy. Now children, Yosef was an incredibly handsome, beautiful boy. He didn't look anything like a slave boy. He was one of the most handsome human beings that Hashem ever created. And the Midianim said, oh, sure. And they paid them, I think, 420. Thank you, 20. Who was reminding me? Thank you. I'm mixing it up. 20 coins. And children, with the 20 coins, we're told they bought shoes. I don't remember the significance of it. But they sat down and they made a din Torah. There were 9 brothers because Reuven wasn't there. And so the 10th one that they included was Hashem. And they said, we are making a din Torah that anyone who reveals the truth of what happened to Yosef will be chayav. Even Hashem can't reveal. And so they made this din Torah because they really thought that they were protecting the concept of the kings of the Jewish people, specifically how Mashiach will come from Shevet Yehuda. Again, they miscalculated and they didn't realize that when Yosef said he's going to be the king, he wasn't referring to being a king over the Jewish people and that he was going to be the future Mashiach. He was referring to Egypt. Children, they took Yosef's coat and they took a goat. Goat blood is very similar to human blood. They shechted the goat and they covered the coat in blood. And they eventually take it to their father and they say, look what we found. And when Yaakov saw it, Yaakov started to cry and he said, oh no, Chaya Ra'ah, a bad animal, must have attacked my son Yosef. And Yaakov thought that he passed away. But it says that what he really saw, his mazal saw, just like all the Shvatim were compared to animals, he was referring to that as well. And children, for 22 years, Yaakov doesn't see Yosef and thinks he's not alive. But since Yosef was really still alive, he still kept on crying for him day in, day out, and he never had menuchat nefesh. Those 22 years was against the 22 years that he left his father, Yitzchak and Rivka, and didn't do the mitzvah of honoring his father and mother. So since he left his father and mother for 22 years, now Hashem did it that his son Yosef leaves him for 22 years. Either way, children, Yosef is taken down to Mitzrayim, and when he comes to Mitzrayim, he is bought by a man called Potipharach. Potipharach is the Sarah Tabachim. He was in charge of King Pharaoh's cattle, all the animals. And Yosef was so wonderful. Potipharach, children, we're told, left Yosef in charge of the whole family, his whole estate. He said, Yosef, you've brought such blessing to me, and the words of name Hashem is always in your mouth. You're wonderful. You be in charge of my entire household. Now, children, Yosef was young at the time, and he was very handsome. And children, Yosef was constantly curling his beautiful curls and curling his eyelashes And the Torah was critical of him. The Torah was saying, your father, Yaakov, back in Israel, is crying for you and you're busy looking in the mirror. That's not good. So what does Hashem do? Hashem actually sends Potiphar's wife. Potiphar himself wasn't a very good man at all. But he wasn't a very good person, children. But his wife Zulecha, she kept seeing Yosef, and Yosef was incredibly handsome. He was so handsome that she decided she wanted to be close to him, like husband and wife. And she kept saying, come, let's be close. And Yosef said, chas v'chalila, chas v'shalom. I'm not going to be close to you. You're already married. I'm not having anything to do with you. Now, children, Zulecha, we are told, actually, children, she had the ability to look into the stars. Oh, I don't have my stargazer puppet. Never mind. And she saw that in the future, through her, some way how through her and Yosef will have a family together. But she was making a mistake. It wasn't her children. It was in the future, right? Who was it? Who knows? Who was this? Not Dina's daughter, right? What is her name? You remember Osnat. Maybe next week I'll teach you the story of Osnat. She had an adopted daughter called Osnat. It's an incredible story. Bli neder, next week, if we have time, we'll do it. But children, yes, she does, they do. Zulecha didn't realize that. And Zulecha keeps on chasing after Yosef. And Yosef refuses. He doesn't agree to be anywhere near her. One day, all the goyim, here it is, were all leaving. They all said, we have to go serve our idol. Come on, big festival, big party. And of course Yosef wouldn't come, he was a Jew. So Zulecha realized this is a chance. She's alone at home with him. So she says, I have a headache, I don't feel good, I can't come. So everybody leaves. And when everybody leaves, she comes to Yosef, she says, come on, nobody's here. Nobody will see. And children, Yosef was only 17 years old at the time. And he was all alone, there was no one to guide him. But he was about to say, maybe it's the right thing, I don't know. And then he suddenly remembers his father, children. He has a vision of his father. He says, how can I do this? I am Ben Torah. I am the son of Yaakov. Hashem is always everywhere. Hashem is watching over me wherever I am. What I'm thinking, I'm alone. We are never, ever alone. Wherever we go, Hashem is with us. And he tells her, no. Children, he runs away. Now, kids, I couldn't put the coat on him. But he runs away. And as he runs away, Zulecha tries to grab him. She grabs the coat, and so he kind of lets the coat fall, and he slips himself out of his own coat, and she's left with his coat in her hand. And she goes, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? The husband will come home, and all the people will come home, and they're going to see that I still have Yosef's coat here. What will I say? She says, I know. I'll switch the story around. I'll say it's the other way around. And when her husband Potiphar comes home, she tells him, look what Yosef did. He attacked me. He wanted to be very close to me and I wouldn't let him. And so I fought against him and I scratched him and I pushed him away and he ran away because I screamed so loud and he left the coat in my hand. Potiphar says, oh, yes. But children, the Chartumim, like the investigators, the wise people said, okay, let's look at the coat. So they look at the coat, and the front of the coat was perfect. When they looked at the back of the coat, it was the back of the coat that was all ripped up. And they said, Potiphar, your wife is lying. If Yosef was attacking her, then the front of the coat would be ripped. She'd be scratching him and pushing him, pulling him and ripping the front of the coat. But it's not the front of the coat that's ripped. It's the back of the coat that is ripped. Which means he was running away from her. And she was the one chasing him and trying to pull him and bring him back. You can't attack somebody backward. That doesn't make any sense. And so Potiphar knew that the Chartumim were right. And they said, according to another opinion, I actually learned that it wasn't the Chartumim who said it. It was actually the one who first noticed this was Osnat, who was the adopted daughter of Zulecha, who ends up marrying Yosef many years later. So that's another opinion, that actually the girl who Yosef ends up marrying was the girl who also pointed out his innocence. But we'll learn that another time because I don't have time to go into Osnat's story. But Potiphar thinks, oh, I can't let anybody know that my wife chased after Yosef. Ha, what will people think? Says, I'm going to just pretend that Yosef was the bad one. Says, look what Yosef did. Throw him in the jail, throw him in the jail. Children, and sure enough, poor Yosef gets taken and he gets thrown into the jail. Children, he is there for 10 years. He's actually 12 in all, but he's there for 10 years. And one day, two people are also in there with him. One of them, children, was the Sar HaTabachim. He was, Sar HaMashkim, sorry, mixed up the name. Sar HaMashkim, he was Paro's like winemaker. He'd make the most delicious wines. He was very good at it. And he would bring the wine to King Paro. One day, as the Sar HaMashkim was carrying the cup of wine, a fly was going bzzz, and the fly came and fell inside the cup of wine, floating inside his wine. When Paro comes to drink his wine, he starts to drink as he says, there's a fly in my wine, how dare you? And he takes the Sar HaMashkim and he throws him in the jail together with Yosef. And there was also, children, the baker too. He had been busy. He had baked a delicious cake for King. Oh, you're right, guys. I'm sorry. You are right. You are right. I actually made a mistake. Thank you for helping me. And I cannot find the pebble, but I had a pebble. All right, we'll just use our thing. He had been baking for Paro, and he didn't clean the table, children. On the table was a little pebble, and he comes and he brings the cake to Paro. And again, as Paro is eating his cake, his bread, I'm sorry, you're right, it was bread, it wasn't cake. As he's eating his bread, he bites into a little pebble and he starts to scream, ah, you put a stone in my bread, off to the jail with you. Now, children, one day, after a while of them being there, they wake up and they're both very sad. And Yosef sees them. And when Yosef sees them, he says to them, Lama pnechem zo'afim hayom? Why are you sad today? Now, children, again, in a very beautiful sikha, the Lubavitcher Rebbe teaches us. He goes, you'd imagine, Yosef was a young boy, a young man. Everybody knew he was really innocent. He was thrown into jail. Even though he was so innocent, you'd imagine that he would be the most miserable, unhappy person, and certainly not care about how other people feel. Two random strangers, a baker and a butler. But instead, the Torah teaches us that Yosef was always happy. He had bitachon. He said, whatever happens is from Hashem. If I'm here in the jail, it's because Hashem wants me here. And we are always in Hashem's hands. I'll be happy. And not only was he happy, he wanted others to be happy. So he came to them. He tells them, Lama pnechem zo'afim hayom? Why are you so sad? And they both tell him, we had a dream. We don't understand the dream. Oh, children, I forgot to tell you, on his way down to Egypt, Yosef stops off by his mother Rachel's kever. I just an important point to it. And both of them said they had a dream. The butler said, and I can't remember who said his dream first, I apologize. Who said the dream first? Do you remember?
I think it was
the butler. The butler. So the butler says, I was a big three clusters of grapes. I was squeezing it into a big cup. And Yosef said, oh, don't worry, that's a very, very good dream. In 3 days' time, it's going to be Paro's birthday. He is going to make a big birthday party, and he is going to say, 1 minute, where's my winemaker? And they're going to say, you threw him in the jail because he put a fly inside your wine. And Paro is going to think about it, and he's going to judge. He's going to say, he didn't put the fly in my wine. The fly was flying, and it fell into my wine. It's not really his fault. He couldn't have, prevented it. And maybe didn't notice. He didn't do it out of negligence. He was just carrying, and the fly went and fell inside the wine. So he said, you know what? I'm almost done. 2 minutes. Oh, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. So, or if they want, they can come in quietly. 2 more minutes to finish the parasha. Sorry. So he said, get him out of the jail. Now, children, the baker and the butler each dreamt their own dream, but they also learned the interpretation of the other person's dream. So the baker said, wow, that's right. He's interpreted it correctly. He said, wait, I also had a dream. I dreamt that I was outside and there were 3 baskets of bread on top of my head. And birds were coming and pecking from the bread. And Yosef said, well, that means in 3 days' time, it's going to be Paro's birthday. He's going to make a big festivity and he's going to judge you. And he's going to say, I remember that baker. He was very negligible. He didn't clean the table properly. He baked for me and he didn't make sure the table is clean. It's completely his fault. It's not like the fly that came on its own. It's a stone. A stone can't move. It's totally his fault. Take him and get rid of him. And true enough, children, he did hang him. I just don't like to go. She's right. He did hang him with the tree. And you know so many details. That's beautiful, darling. Children, Paro did exactly that. And as the butler is about to leave, Yosef tells him, Mr. Butler, please remember me to Paro. Get me out of here. I'm an innocent man. Everybody knows I didn't do anything wrong. And the butler said, sure. And he left and he didn't remember him. He couldn't get 2 hoots about him. Children, the Torah, he remembers next week because it was for his benefit. He wanted to score good points with King Paro, so he remembers him. But children, we're told Yosef was such a tzaddik, he should not have depended on the butler. He should have said, Hashem will save me, not the butler. Now children, the truth is that if somebody we need to get something fixed, we should work on it ourselves. We don't say, well, I'll just sit home with my hands closed and I won't do anything and Hashem will do it all for me. Of course, we have bitachon in Hashem, but we also have to do things b'derech hateva, through natural means. Yosef, we're told, was such a great tzaddik, he should not have depended on things to happen naturally, but he should have depended on a miracle that Hashem would save him. And may Hashem, Be'ezat Hashem, bring blessing for everyone with the coming of Mashiach now. Thank you for listening. Thank you, guys.